She didn't know where I got that from.
Good morning. It's 9 o'clock. It is a regular meeting of Commissioners Court of Grimes County. It is Wednesday, the 26th day of September, 9 a.m. in the Grimes County Annex Building, 114 West Bovington Avenue, Anderson, Texas, at which time the following subjects will be discussed and acted upon, to wit. Calling the meeting to order, I'm going to ask if you would please to stand for our invocation, remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and the pledge to the Texas flag, and I'm going to ask Pastor Arlo Robertson from the Lee Tabernacle United Methodist Church. Sir, if you don't mind coming to the podium and leading our invocation for us this morning.
Thank you, Jared. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come this morning thanking you for this opportunity to be assembled in this court. We ask, Lord, that you would allow us to let justice prevail with mercy today. Father, we ask, Lord, that everyone that's represented here, that you would bless them, our going out and our coming in today. And Father, whatever decisions that are made, Lord, we ask that it be made to your glory and to your honor. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, sir. Would you join me in the pledge to the U.S. flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Would you be seated, please? Our second agenda item is for public comments. If you have a public comment that you'd like to make, I'd ask that you come to the podium, Ms. Duff, and introduce yourself and have your guest introduce herself, or you can introduce her. And I am going to, before you get started, because we do have these meetings recorded, we have microphones at the up on the desk here. We also have a microphone, I believe, on the podium, or do we? Yep, that's it. And we're going to ask all of those who do speak to speak loudly and clearly so that the information that is covered in court is picked up by the microphones. We are video recorded for the citizens of Grimes County to view any of our commissioners' courts, part of our open meetings and transparency. But it's difficult when they can see our mouths moving, but they can't hear what we're saying. So if I ask you to speak up, and I will probably, and Commissioner Dobianski, believe it or not, they said they could hear you okay. Thank you. All right. Which is surprising. You're the soft-spoken one, but Ms. Duff, I'll ask you to introduce yourself and proceed.
I'm Rebecca Duff, Grimes County Election Administrator, Voter Registrar for Grimes County. And I would like to introduce our Grimes County new employee. This is Christina Griffin. She's our new Deputy Voter Registrar and Election. So I wanted to introduce her to y'all. And then I wanted to mention that I was petitioned a request for extended weekday hours for early voting. And the people that turned in the petition met the requirement of 15 signatures. And the day will be October the 28th from 2 in the afternoon to 7 p.m. And we also have extended hours on both Mondays. And that would be October the 22nd and October the 29th. Both Mondays are 7 to 7. And then this is in addition to, and it'll be October the 28th, 2 to 7 p.m.
2 to 7 p.m. What day of the week is that, please?
That's going to be a Sunday.
Have we ever had extended hours on a Sunday before?
No, sir, I don't believe we have. Due to the fact that our branch in Navasota is booked up. Navasota Center has people all day Saturday, and then they have a church service in there till noon. So we have to break down equipment and bring it back up and set it all back up and be ready for this extended hours.
Well, I haven't been, well, I'm sorry, these are comments. Mr. Attorney, am I allowed to
Allowed by whom? I won't allow you, if that's, if that's
Okay,
your
law will
preference.
not allow. I will take your comments under consideration and I will visit with you on them.
Yes, sir. Okay, well,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
That's it. Would you, anybody like some sample ballots? I have, so, you later.
Additional public comments? Yes, Mr. Walker.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Harry Walker. I'm speaking as a resident this morning. I've been asked to make an announcement that the Anderson Shiro Owls are having a community pep rally tonight at 6:30 p.m. in front of the courthouse. And if the weather cooperates, hopefully it'll be a good time for everyone. So please come out if you have the opportunity.
What
Okay.
time?
6:30. Right when the rain is supposed to start.
Did you
Thank you,
plan
sir.
that, Rain?
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Yes, sir.
Hi, Neil Winkley, City of Todd Mission. We just wanted to thank you, the judge and commissioners, for all your work, and Grimes County Firefighter Association for helping us get up and running, and we really look forward to serving the citizens of Grimes County with all your needs, and we're here to answer any questions if you have them. I have my assistant fire chief with me here today, Cassandra, and we just really want to thank you for the opportunity to serve the citizens.
Thank you. And I'll ask one more time, are there any additional public comments to be made this day? Seeing none, we'll go on to consent agenda items number 3, number 4, number 5 of our agenda. Consider and take action to approve the treasurer's list of claims and bills. Item 4, consider and take action to approve budget amendments and/or line item transfers. And agenda item number 5, to approve minutes of previous commissioners' meetings.
I didn't have any questions. Is there anyone else with any questions? Okay, if there are no questions, then I'd like to make the motion, we approve consent agenda items 3, 4, and 5.
Second motion.
There's a motion before the court to approve consent agenda items number 3, 4, and 5 by Commissioner Walker, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will move to agenda item number 6, Mr. Lilly. Consider and take necessary action to approve the replat of Caney Creek Crossing that revises boundary lines of Lot 2, 11.15 acres to accommodate a building encroachment by the adjoining lot in Shenandoah Valley subdivision unrecorded. Caney Creek Crossing Lot 2 is to be redesignated as Lot 2R, 11.5 acres. Mr. Lilly.
Yes, Judge and Commissioners, again, as we discussed during the public hearing, this is a rather unusual replat, but it became necessary when the landowners with the 2 adjacent lots, they came to me wanting to resolve the issue of one of the landowners has a house that overlaps the lot line of the other property owner, and they came to an agreement on how to do that. Basically to realign the lot to where the house is located, there's enough land granted to move that lot line out, and then at the bottom corner, the other lot owner granted that same amount of property back to the lot 2 owner, so that there's no actual change in the lot sizes, it's just how the lot lines are being realigned.
Thank you, sir.
If there is no further discussion, I move that we approve the replat of Caney Creek Crossing that revises the boundary lines of Lot 2, 11.5 acres to accommodate a building encroachment by adjoining lot in the Shenandoah Valley subdivision unrecorded. Caney Creek Crossing Lot 2 is to be redesignated as Lot 2R, 11.15 acres.
Second. There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 6 by Commissioner Dobianski. There's a second by Commissioner Mallett. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Lilly. Number 7, Elections Office Voter Registrar Elections Administrator Rebecca Duff. Consider and approve the order of special elections. See attachment number 7. Ms. Duff?
Good morning, voters of Grimes County. I'm Rebecca Duff, the election administrator for Grimes County. And so I have a proclamation from the governor of the state of Texas for the, here we go, hereby order a general election to be held throughout the state of Texas for the first Tuesday next after the first Monday in November 2018, being the 6th day of November 2018. So I'm requesting an order to be signed, and I have a new one because there was a typo, and on it, and because of the petition coming in that it requested the extended hours. So it's on this order. So if I could get y'all to sign this, please.
Ms. Cook.
Requesting. It's where it was from 2 to 6, I think I had to put 2 to 7 because it's 5 hours on the request.
Okay, so the attachment that we have in front of us is 2 to 6 p.m.
Yes, sir.
And you're saying that's not correct?
No, sir. Due to the typo, so I just need this one signature for 2 to 7, please. There is extended hours on Mondays that we normally do, and then with this petition coming in, it is on that Sunday, and it's October the 28th, from 2 to 7.
All right, so where do you propose that this extended time period occur?
On the,
What location?
at both places, at the main one here at the courthouse, because that's what the petitioning is for, the main one to be open. So then we have this branch that opens at the same time, because the commissioners asked this to always be open. It's in the minutes, and we can look it up, that whenever the main one is open, the branch one would be open as well. And it would make sense to have the branch open due to the fact that we've got a Justice of the Peace race, we've got a Commissioner's race, we've got the City of Plantersville tax ratification, and we also have a liquor option. And majority of the people that vote early go to the Navasota Center.
Is that fair to have a liquor option on a Sunday?
Yes, sir.
Just a question.
And I got
But
an answer.
you,
yes or
you
no?
say in the minutes, I don't have the election code, and I didn't read the election code last night, had better things to do.
No, I don't.
But I will review it. But you're saying that we're having to have 2 locations open on the basis of a petition? It's my understanding in previous that if we were going to have a location, an additional, it would be the main voting location, i.e. the courthouse.
Yes, sir, and that's true, because that is our main polling place, is
Correct.
the courthouse. And so when we have early voting, our voters of Grimes County rely upon the Navasota Center as well. They're familiar that it being open, and it is in the court minutes that when our main courthouse is open, also the branch one. And it just makes sense for our main population of Navasota area and where the majority of the people live. And that's where a lot of the issues are on the ballot as well, would go there on a Sunday. And it's by law. It's under section 85.006 of the election code. And that when we're petitioned, and we have 15 signatures, is all that Grimes County
Right.
can receive in, and they're asking for the extended hours, and they ask for the Sunday. We're under 100,000 population, and so with that being said, we don't have to be petitioned for both days. And so it'd be, the big ones, like the Kingdom of Harris County and all that, they have to be open Saturday and Sunday. But us being under 100,000, it's either Saturday or Sunday, and this petition picked Sunday.
I don't debate the right to have the extended hours with the petition with the 15 signatures. If you validated the 15 signatures
Yes, sir.
and they're legal signatures, then the petition is valid, but can you show me in the court minutes where we're required to have 2 locations? And part of this is, it's a financial issue. Because we were talking last court or the court before where you're out of money here and there, and you've already had your special elections, and now we want to have extended hours at 2 locations, more so than we have.
Yes, sir.
When we as a county have open centers throughout where anybody can vote anywhere.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And I'm not trying to deny anybody's vote at all, but I
That'll be
just,
in next year's budget. not
I'm sorry?
That will come out of next year's budget, not this year's.
Okay,
But I understand what you're saying, Your Honor, because I'm out of money. I'm close to $20,000 out of budget, deficit.
and we're gonna get it back from you somewhere, I just
Yes, sir,
don't know how.
and so here I have to prep ahead of time right now and gotta pay these people somehow. Yes, sir. No,
Well,
it's
but
the
you say
state
it's
law.
in, okay, but you say it's in the court minutes somewhere where we have to have 2 or that when,
Our
that we
main-
count the main and Navasota Center as the same? I don't recall ever seeing that.
It was during the time Pam Finke was here, so we have to look back that far on when it was voted in. Because of the population, the annex, the branch one is like a courtesy to the voters, but this commissioner's court at one time voted it in that instead of the voters having to come to Anderson, it's open at the same time. We advertise the hours are open at the same time. And this petition that came in is legal under the wording of the state of Texas.
I'm not denying that.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Foltz, you've been here a long time. Do you,
This morning, or what are you talking about?
do you recall anything of the such, or Mr. Paskett, do you recall anything of the such?
I don't recall.
I do recall.
And what do you recall, Mr. Paskett?
There was a discussion, and I can't tell you the particulars about it, but, about when the polling place, early voting polling places open here at the courthouse, that the one in Navasota also be open.
Was that a one-time deal, or was that a forever? Because I can't hardly see the court saying, well, we'll do this forever and ever until, or unless we change it back.
I don't recall that exactly, but we can find it in the minutes.
But even if it were a policy decision, you can change your own policy tomorrow, so, I mean, that's not an issue. If it was just a policy determination by the court, what I would think you'd wanna know is the basis of the reasoning behind the decision, not necessarily whether the decision, not necessarily solely whether the decision was made, but you can change that. That's not an issue.
I would think that the reason it was made is not having a Sunday election is because the people that work in Navasota but live in Anderson or wherever can vote over there because we have the open, can vote anywhere now. I think that was probably the reason that it was done to start with.
Maybe, and you can either come back to this later on the agenda and have Ms. Duff go do a little bit of searching for it, or you can set it on a different day, or you can take your action today as it is, or modify the order.
Ms. Duff, do you have to make some type of, other than public announcements, you have to make some type of
This-
public notice?
This order needs to go into the newspaper to notify our citizens that we're holding this election, so that's what this order is.
Okay,
And, so
but the
there's a
order
time
could go
frame.
in without the extended hours on there.
Well, then we've got this petition that's legally turned in by these people the petitioners, so then there's gonna be a conflict about that. Because they turned in the form and they met all the requirements for this section of the state law.
Mhm.
So then it's gonna be a problem because they already have this turned in.
Well, okay, I get that, but as far as the court approving it, is there a deadline when the court needs to approve it prior to in the back of my head, I'm aware of a 70-hour, when we were talking about making changes of a location or because of illness or what have you, we had a 72-hour notice or requirement to let voters know that a polling place was either gonna be closed or moved. And as long as we had that posting up
Yes, sir.
72 hours in advance, we were okay. And again, I'm not trying to derail this, I'm just trying to figure out what's best, and also economically
The reason
reasonable.
it's on that Sunday is Navasota Center, as in agreement with Grimes County, lets us use that polling place there in Navasota Center.
Mhm.
So they have rented out Saturday.
Okay.
It is booked up. And so
I don't have a problem with
they
that.
have church that next morning, and for them, people stand around and talk after church and a function. And so getting that cleared out, getting our equipment back up and everybody running, we had to pick that afternoon. And so it's 5 hours in the law. It's based on that code. And so that's why that was picked, and that's what they're asking for. Since if we were over 100,000, we would be open Saturday and Sunday. That would just have to be. We would have to have a place for that on our main polling place. But through the Commissioner's Court, since we advertised to be open for extended hours, at that time, Commissioner's Court said every time that we're open, this branch should be open. And since we have so many things on this ballot that pertain to that area, you're going to have a bigger turnout. We've got a justice of the peace that's being contested. We've got, again, the liquor option, and then the city of Plantersville.
And the liquor option is not countywide.
No, sir, but it's that
Okay.
territory,
Yeah,
it's
and
that
since
area.
it's open center, they still could cast their votes, okay, same
Yes,
for
sir.
Plantersville.
Yes, sir, and I agree with, Mr. Dobianski that with the time when it was brought in, we didn't have these super voting centers. And also where everybody could go vote. But this is for people that work out of the county, and we have a lot of them that do.
Is time of the essence when it comes down to the order itself?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Because the governor you had to get that approved, right?
Yes,
So.
yes, ma'am.
This, in order for, you would have to go back and change that, send it back to Austin, get it redone?
Not so much Austin, it's just get it changed here and then get back in the court, so
Right.
y'all would sign this, and
Mhm.
it's just 5 hours.
Okay, does it impact your budget much?
It would impact me in the way of paying, election judges for those 5 hours here at the courthouse. We already have extended hours that we routinely add on 7 to 7. Our cities and schools all use that same extended hours. This was just an extra petition that the rights of the citizens can turn this in, and they did, in a timely manner.
So the opening of that one center in Navasota, what kind of impact would you see in terms of funding?
Probably, $300 or $400.
Are you not opening Anderson on that day?
Yes, sir?
Okay, so it's 2 centers, it's not 1.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
But you're talking, you're
That's required by law,
contesting
you're talking about
Navasota
one.
Center.
Yes, it's
So
$300.
I wanted to know what kind of impact that made.
Yeah.
And she's saying $300 or $400.
Okay.
And that's $300 or $400 to give convenience to the citizens of Grimes County to come out on a Sunday and vote. So, and it's in next year's budget or this year?
As the auditor said, it's this, we would pay it out of next year's budget.
Because it'll be in November.
It doesn't take place until the end of October, and October 1 is the beginning of our new festival.
I just wanted to make sure I understood because she was saying she was out of money. And I
She
just
is
wanted
out
to
of
know,
business.
was she out of money already for next year, you know?
Way out of it.
Just for this year.
Okay. All right, so we're talking about a difference of what did you say,
Between $300 and $400.
$300 and $400 to
And
close
she
the
should
center?
have that in her budget already with the election judges' salaries that are put in there. There should be enough in there.
But it should be covered, yes, ma'am.
Do you think that would impact her greatly to have?
Commissioner, I'm just, the citizens have a legal right to petition it, if they meet the rights of the petition, we have an obligation to provide it. I personally think 2 weeks of voting between Anderson and the center in Navasota and 2 days of extended hours pretty much gives people an opportunity to vote. I don't want to deny anybody the right to vote, but, you know, we'll do it this time, we'll do it the next election, we'll do it the next election. And then it's not 300, it's 600, then it's 1,200, then it's 1,500, then it's, you know.
Well, since time is of the essence and we did not anticipate that particular, that's gonna take some research, unless you can put your hands on it right away, as to what the court approved. You know, it doesn't have to be so on and so forth forever and forevermore.
No, ma'am, it's just for this time.
For her to meet her timeline, I mean, unless like he suggested, unless you give her an opportunity to go get it, come back to, bring it back to Commissioner's Court today. But, you know, it's also, on us to also understand what we have set in place for elections. So, how hard would it be for you to research that?
I don't have a clue where to find it.
It'll be a while,
That could take a little time.
rest of the day.
But under the state law, that I keep saying, under the state law that they submitted this to us, they're correct on what the people that submitted this petition.
I get that.
Yes, sir. So
What
this
I'm
is
challenging is that what you're saying is that when they request it to be open, we automatically assume, and at this point, we're assuming, because we don't have the documents in front of us, that Anderson is open and Navasota Center is open. And there's no doubt in my mind that Anderson is the main voting center,
Oh,
which
that's
would
correct.
which would meet the requirements of the petition. What you're telling me, though, it's been customary when this has happened in the past, and we don't know how long ago that's happened in the past, that we oblige the citizens by also having the Navasota Center open. I get that.
Well, if you really want to go back and look at the law, then with a branch and with it taking that away, what Commissioner Court had implemented, Navasota Center can be cut way back. They don't even have to have extended hours. We'll have normal hours like our normal office hours are, and the courthouse here will be the only one that has the extended hours for any of it.
Understood?
So that could go way back to all that.
Understood.
We could cut it way back. And, so we could probably have some candidates weigh in on this with this not being accepted since the petition's already.
Not only with the candidates, I would take exception to it, because I know that there are many residents all over the Grimes County area that don't get off until 5, and they need those extended hours in order to make it there to vote.
Well, I don't think the issue or the question is whether or not they're gonna be a place to.
Commissioner Cox, I'll ask you to speak up.
I'll try the best I can, sir.
Thank you.
I don't think I think there will be an opportunity for people to vote. And I understand what you're saying, Judge, and I understand what you're saying as well. And it's a budgetary concern. And we've got a petition with 15 people that have signed that petition legally. I don't know what the right answer is, but I certainly believe that the people that have presented the petition, at least 15 of them, would not have done so if they were gonna have the opportunity to vote other times other than Sunday. So what I would expect that if they've submitted that petition, that at least 15 votes will be cast on a Sunday. And if memory serves me, I've seen elections in Grimes County come down to being decided by less than 15 votes.
Correct.
the question is, where do they cast those votes on Sunday? Are we gonna allow them to do it at the courthouse and Navasota, or one or the other? And I don't, you know, from a budgetary constraint, taking everything into consideration, I don't necessarily know that it's gonna be burdensome on the county to operate two centers on a Sunday if we can anticipate even one vote, because that's how important it is in my mind. So that's my 2 cents on the issue.
What is your timeline on getting this to the newspaper and getting this back to whoever you need to get it to?
Now, it needs to go in the newspaper, and since we have a weekly newspaper, by next Tuesday. And it's,
What, is that the state law that you have to get it in the paper by then?
well, I have to have the order, and then I have to advertise the notice. It comes in behind it, and it's, we have to have this done within a 30-day period on the notice. And so it's crowding it right now. This order came into the judge's office about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 now. And so in order to get it signed, I had to get on the commissioner's court, and this is the day I could get on with it.
Now, the order came to my office, but the extended hours was not in my office.
No, because the petition just came in.
Okay, well,
Yes, sir.
I just want to clarify
That's
that.
correct.
I haven't had 2 weeks to study this and
No, sir.
ask these questions all of a sudden.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just so we're clear. Any further discussion?
I don't have any, but I would like to make a motion.
All right,
I'd like to make the motion that we approve the order of special election.
I'll second.
There's a motion before Commissioners Court on agenda item number 7 by Commissioner Walker, seconded by Commissioner Cox. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I abstain. Nays? Okay. Go to number 8. Thank you, Ms. Duff.
Thank you.
In the meantime, I'd like you to dig those files,
Yes, sir.
show me those court minutes. Agenda item number 8, Grimes County Firefighters Association, Joan Tier President. Discuss and approve contract for the volunteer fire department. I don't see Ms. Tier. Is there anybody here in her stead?
You have Chief Victor.
Chief, you want to come up and identify yourself?
Yes, my name is Freeman Vickers. I'm the fire chief at the Whitehall Community Volunteer Fire Department. And we're here to ask your consideration and approval of this year's firefighting contract for the contract year 2018-2019. We've added Todd Mission as a volunteer fire department in the southeast area of the county. They are new, and we are glad to have them aboard. And we hope to incorporate them into our fire protection plan in the county.
Excellent. Okay. Mr. Fultz, you had an opportunity to review the contract, is that correct?
I did, Judge.
And you noticed that there was one change?
No, I noticed that they made, and you can call it 3 changes, but
Three?
it was paragraph 3.02, subsection B. There was a question of whether or not those reimbursement fees or reimbursement expenses could be audited or not. The original draft said reimbursement funds will not be subject to audit, may be used at the discretion of the department. It just raised the issue that dollars given to a nonprofit essentially require the county to have some oversight, so we need to continue to have the ability to audit those funds, and Ms. Tier made that change. It now reads reimbursement, and I'm working on the last draft that I saw. I don't know what you have and if you have anything in front of you, but as far as I know, the final draft is going to contain what I'm telling you. Reimbursement funds may be used at the discretion of the department, but can be audited. So that provision's been modified, and then.
That's what it says on front of us.
Okay, and then it was, well, the B in mind that can be audited, that B was left out. That you may want to have to write that in. I don't know if it's in yours or not.
Excuse me,
Yes, ma'am.
Judge, did you say that, said that?
Mine says, but can audit it. It doesn't have the B, but he said we're
So
writing
do you
in.
have this copy? Where it says funds will not be subject to audit? Look.
I have enough contracts, I'm sure I have one that says it. But can be audited. That's what this one says. What is your question, Commissioner?
Okay, first of all, we received one this morning. We received one a couple of weeks ago from Ms. Tier.
And I'm guessing the one you got a couple of weeks ago, the one that I saw with the concerns,
Yeah.
that raised the concerns that I pointed out.
And
Yes.
that's in this one that you got this morning, is correct, I think.
So the one you had this morning, or got this morning, has the change in there.
Yeah. That's
We just need to add the B audited.
Yeah.
Correct?
I would think, yeah.
Yep. Better English.
All right.
All right.
I know what was
Is that-
intended.
This is what you run into when you get 2 and 3 different contracts.
All right.
I mean, we did not receive this till this morning.
Right, you just blame me for pointing out things that I thought were problematic.
Please continue.
All right. I would note, and I'm not, this is a policy issue, so I'm not making a comment about it one way or the other, except to say that the sentence after the one that we just talked about is new in this proposed agreement. County agrees to reimburse the VFD $5 per call per member for each member responding to either the fire station directly or to the scene of a call. When I read that, I knew it was a policy issue and would be up for the court to make a determination as to whether that's appropriate. That's not for me to decide. But what it raised for me was the concern that if you got a call and you were headed to the fire station and you got to the fire station, let's say, and then never got suited up, never got away from the fire station, are you gonna get $5 because the call got canceled? And Ms. Tier added that next sentence that says the reimbursement payment is not applicable to a canceled call. So that clarifies for me that it doesn't apply in that situation that gave me concern, but it is, again, it's not for me to comment on whether you should or should not approve the $5 per call reimbursement. That's something that you all have to decide. And that's new to this agreement from last year.
Chief Vickers, do you have any comments in regards to this language?
To the $5?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It's a very common practice throughout the state. Volunteer fire departments are compensated for their individuals responding to a fire. And the sums range anywhere from $5 per individual up to $10. It helps generate revenue for the department and help produce a basis for apparatus repair or acquisition. It shows good faith in the members responding to their department to support their department.
Judge?
So with this, yes, ma'am, but is this money gonna be paid to the individuals, or is it gonna be paid to the department
It will
to be
paid to the
dispersed?
department, only to the, nothing be dispersed. It will be retained by the department.
Okay. Mary,
We've already set the budget.
would you identify yourself for the viewing audience, please?
I'm Mary Nichols, the Grimes County Auditor,
Yes, ma'am?
and the budget has already been approved for fiscal year 2019, and that dollar amount's not included and figured in, and we would have to know how many volunteers they expect to show up every time a call comes in and things like that in order to budget for that.
Judge, I don't mean to interrupt, but I think Mr. Fultz was trying to go down through the contract to identify some of the changes that he noticed. Before we get into these discussions about the individual issues, I'd like to hear, if possible, the changes that he's noticed in the contract.
That's
Come
fine.
back for discussion.
That's fine, thanks.
All right, I'll be happy to do that. Paragraph, so those are the issues in that 3.02 subsection B, moving down to 3.03, the last sentence. In the document that I got a couple of weeks ago, the last sentence read, "The county will not claim assert or litigate any right or title in any form to any VFD asset owned by any volunteer department. What the concern that caused me was VFD owned. What does that mean? If it was acquired in the name of or in the title of the VFD, let's say an apparatus, and you got title in the name of the VFD, but funds were used from the county in a way that funds weren't supposed to be used for a capital expenditure, then that might prohibit the county from ever challenging that expenditure. And so it raised for me the issue of we're not defining what VFD owned means, and if somebody, of course there have been issues in the past, and I'm not naming any names or departments, but if somebody used funds improperly to acquire an asset and the title to the asset reflected it was in the VFD's name, this provision might prohibit us from challenging that with an audit or litigation or whatever may be required. So that has been revised to now read, the county will not claim, assert, or litigate any right or title in any form to any VFD asset which is acquired solely with non-county funds, except if necessary to collect on any judgment in favor of the county and against said VFD. There's a lot of information in there, but essentially we're not going to challenge if the asset was acquired with non-county funds. I mean, that makes sense. That's not our issue. That's not, right. We don't need to be concerned about that. But if there were ever a case, and we've run into this as late as last year, if a VFD improperly used funds pursuant to the contract, and let's say in a worst case scenario, the county brought suit to get those dollars back, and the county obtained a judgment, to collect on a judgment, oftentimes you have to go after assets of the judgment debtor. And in the case of a VFD, it would potentially be those non-county assets. And so that's why that last phrase, the only time we're going to be concerned about that is if, God forbid, we have to get in a circumstance where the county ends up with a judgment due to a breach of the contract. So the way that it now reads to me, or reads is fine with me. I don't know if anybody else has some suggestions, but the concerns that I had have been resolved.
Mr. Fultz?
Yes, ma'am.
May I also ask that at 3.03, does it start with annual funds or all funds?
That word was changed, and so I wasn't aware of that until Ms. Tier pointed that out to me, or I guess it was the judge pointed out. She and I met with the judge. That has now been changed to the word annual.
And previously it was what?
I think previously it was all.
It was all.
It was all.
And if the county wants the auditor's office to be able to audit all funds, those funds need to be kept in a separate checking account instead of intermingling the money, because when they intermingle the money, it's impossible to know what monies were used for what. And so when we do our audit, then we say, well, you know, there was this much county money, and this is what they spent on stuff that they shouldn't have spent on with county money. So it's a nightmare on that.
But I don't have it in black and white, but it's my understanding that all of the VFDs now have 2 checking accounts where they keep
At least
their
2.
operational funds and the county funds, so that when we do audit, if they make their deposits correctly, it ought to be able, it should be easier for the county to track their expenditures while using county money.
Yes, sir, but
Is that correct?
sometimes they take the money that's been given to them by the county and they'll transfer it into one of the other accounts. And then that's an account we weren't gonna audit, but because they transferred county money into it, now we need to look at that account and see how that money was spent. And so it just creates a mess for the fire department and for the auditor's office.
Talita, you had a comment? And would you identify yourself for the court?
Talita Coleman, I'm an assistant auditor. The only thing that I'm concerned is with them having their discretion is if they keep the money separate and
The volunteer fire departments.
The volunteer fire departments, if they keep the reimbursement and the annual funds, which they do now in a separate account, but they have the discretion to use that run cost money, how are we to determine what portion they're using at their discretion out of that bank account versus the annual funds? So now you're gonna have to have a third account, one account to where they're run cost money can go into, one account where the annuals go into, because if you change the contract the way it reads now, the annual funds will be audited one way, and the run cost reimbursement is gonna be audited a different way. There's no way to determine the difference between the two if those are combined. So now instead of 2 accounts, you're gonna have 3 accounts. And some of the fire departments have 4 or 5 accounts. So you're gonna add a 6th or a 5th. That's just a lot of bank accounts for an individual department to have.
Okay. Mr. Foltz, any additional contract changes?
Just one more. Minor change, 4.11. The document that was submitted to me read, first sentence, in reimbursement disputes arising from 4.07 annual and quarterly reports, paragraph C or subsection C, the Commissioners Court will act as arbitrator. Arbitrator is a term of art and may signify, someone may argue later, hopefully no one would have, but that indicates that arbitration is appropriate. Arbitration is a form of dispute resolution that requires having an arbitrator, and the decision by the arbitrator is final, and usually requires somebody to have a level of certification. I just asked them to change arbitrator to the word arbiter, somebody to make the decision, so then there's no implication that you have to have some certification or has to be conducted in a formal process. They've made that change.
They were in agreement to that?
Yes, those are the 3 changes that I noted, or that I asked for, and they've made all 3 of those. But again, this applies to should apply to every circumstance except on those where I may overstep my bounds. It is not for me to tell you whether policy-wise this is good or bad or should be approved or not. I'm pointing out the things that I thought could be clarified so that they could be presented to you in a clarified way. There wouldn't be any concern that I had that there may be a misinterpretation of the intention of the parties.
Your wisdom guarantees us ease of operation most of the time, and we appreciate that. Okay, so let's go back to 3.03 thank you again, sir.
02.
Well, all right, 02 is, I'm sorry, 3.02, we're all in agreement to add in can be audited.
Yes.
Fire departments are. Commissioners Court, are y'all in agreement with that?
Yes.
Okay. Then the county agrees to reimburse the volunteer fire departments $5 per call per member for each member responding to either the fire station directly or to the scene of the call. And your comment, Ms. Nichols, is that that wasn't considered through the budgeting process this year.
Yeah, that was never brought up during the budgeting process, and the court's already approved the budget for next year, and so I don't know where you'd come up with that money.
Judge, can I speak on that?
Yes, sir. Would you identify yourself for the court, please?
Court Norwood, Richard Volunteer Fire Department, I'm fire chief. We do not plan on any budgeting changes from the county. We plan for that money to come from our already budgeted 32.5 that we already get. It's not that we're gonna give the county another bill. It's permission to pay the firemen out of the already money that y'all already give us.
That's not what this says.
And now
So
you're
what-
taking money that supposedly can be audited and be under these strict guidelines. If we do it the way that the chief is asking, now they're gonna take that $5 per call per person and switch it out over into an account that they can use at their discretion, and that's a lot of pulling and pushing, and, I mean.
Our main problem here, boil the water out of the pot, our main problem is we need help. We need firefighters.
Sure.
All the way across the state, all the way across the county. We need firefighters. So this is this is one of the first steps that we're trying to take to encourage people to become a firefighter, to encourage the firefighters we already have to get out of bed and go do something. That's what this is planned to do.
But if that $5 isn't gonna be reimbursed to the individual, how is that gonna entice them to come?
There's nowhere in this document that says any individual is gonna receive the $5. We were very sure and very clear of that when we made this, change or made this request. And the point about whether it comes out of the 32.5 or whether it's separately allocated, it's still auditable. There's nowhere in this document that says that reimbursement can't be audited. We've already addressed that in the reimbursement funds. We originally said reimbursement funds shall represent the work product of the department, and the reimbursement funds would not be subject to audit. Well, that created some friction, and we decided, well, if you want to audit it, go ahead and audit it. Well, whether it's 32.5 or whether it's $5 out of the 32.5, you're going to audit it anyway. So it seems like you're creating a cloud on a sunny day.
No,
Which
just
maybe
all
we could
these,
do with some more clouds. Yes, ma'am.
it's just, all the changes that are coming up right now that haven't been presented before, it just raises red flags for auditing.
Well, and we've asked for budget meetings with the auditor's office and for budget meetings concerning our contract. And I think we've only had one meeting this year that we've had an opportunity to have a meeting. And as this contract evolves, we see things that could benefit not only the county, but also things that could benefit the department.
Sure.
And we try to address those things in a timely and rational manner.
I'm not aware of an attempt to have a meeting with the auditor's office to discuss budget.
Well, we usually get a letter saying, we're gonna have a meeting with you and bring all your books. So,
That's
That's
for an audit.
That's not a budget.
that's when we hear from the auditor's office.
Let me ask this, does the world quit turning if we delay this for a week or two to make sure that we've got B in there, that even the auditor and the attorney and the association?
The term of the last contract was to expire on September 30th.
Yes, sir.
Does the world quit turning? Absolutely not. Are the VFDs gonna quit doing what they're doing? I suspect they'd keep operating
Probably
under
not.
the deal that we already have. I don't think that that's a good habit to get into. I think what my preference would be that we have, you could, and I'm not suggesting this, but you could have somebody run and post a meeting for Friday afternoon, 72 hours from now, and, right? Oh, that's 48. Okay, Sunday is apparently when you guys like to meet, so do it on Sunday.
I abstained from that vote, if you recall.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You could do it that way, certainly.
We could do one Monday morning.
You sure could. My preference would be certainly that you get it right, than you do it out of haste and get it wrong.
Can the auditors, the attorneys, and the fire departments get everything hashed out where we could have a special meeting Monday morning?
If we can all three to get together and sit down and talk about it, I don't have a problem with it.
Auditors? Mr. Attorney?
Well, I'm happy to, but just remember, at the end of the day, this is your decision, so you're gonna have to, you may wanna send two people from the court to participate in the meeting, so that they have advance notice of what's going on. What I'm hearing is the $5 may or may not be included in the 32.5. If it were included in the 32.5, I don't know why you'd make any reference to the $5. I mean, you just get the 32.5 and you got the $5 in there, they can dole it out however they choose to. If it's in addition to that, you're gonna continue to have the auditor have concerns and say to you, this ain't in the budget. And so what are you gonna do about that? So we can meet about that and they can either retract it or leave it, but at the end of the day, it's gonna take your approval. So you're gonna have to hash this out among the five of you. It'd be nice to have two folks already have a heads up. I've given my comments, and if they wanna make some changes and we can talk about the language, that's fine. I just wanna reiterate that it's not for me to dictate policy.
Understood.
Okay.
Once again, I'm not sure, Chief Vickers, if I don't quite understand the reimbursement of the $5 per call per member if you're saying it's already in the 32.5.
We're not saying that because it's not stipulated in that contract. We've already been through this with the contract. If the $5 were stipulated as coming out of that 32.5, it wouldn't be an issue. But it doesn't come out of that 32.5 unless we rewrite the contract and say that the department will withdraw and move to its run reimbursement account, $5 for each firefighter who comes to the station or responds to a call. That verbiage would have to be in there. We've looked at the verbiage and we've looked at the words. Words mean things. That's why we say annual and not all. So it separates a big pot of money into a smaller pot of money.
I think we've got some negotiation, some discussion we need to do over this, because it's coming, sound like we're getting 4 or 5 different.
Yeah, understand.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and if we're gonna sign a contract, and it's the same contract for each fire department, we need to be consistent in
Yes,
it,
sir.
that we don't have 8 or 9 different versions out there. Everybody has, in my opinion, they all need to have the same understanding. And, because we have one chief saying the 5 is coming out of 32.5, and we have one chief saying, not so.
Well, and the reason I'm saying not so is because the way the contract is written is that the 32.5 will be, or the 32.5 will be
As
one
additional.
pot of money, the $5 per member will be another pot of money, and it will come from other resources other than the 32.5 annual stipend. Now, if the issue is that we're overrunning our annual budget of 32.5, then we would ask for an increase in that amount. But generally, we're between $3,000 or $4,000 short each year at the end of the year that we have reserves, and we look at that as moving forward to next year in the event that we have a catastrophic failure of an engine or a transmission, or we have to replace a pump system in a truck. So we always try to keep a cushion, and if we have that $5 come out of that cushion, we're not talking about an extensive amount of money. Responses are generally 4 to 5 individuals, maybe 6 individuals on a call per department. Some departments larger departments have as many as 5 to 7 members, smaller departments, 3 to 5 members. We're not talking about a big pile of money each time the department responds. So it would seem reasonable that that money could be moved from the 32.5 at the end of the year into the reimbursement account. But as the contract is written, it can't be. And if we're gonna do that, we need verbiage in the contract to say that we can transfer those funds to the reimbursement account. For clarification for your decision making.
Does it say that now?
No, it doesn't say that, and that's why we're here. I'm here to defend what you have in front of you, the $5, and Ms. Nichols is here saying that it wasn't budgeted for.
But my question is, you're saying it says that,
We're offering you an option as a solution to the $5 that takes Ms. Nichols out of the picture until she comes and audits the department.
Well, maybe I'm not understanding the option that you're offering, because I'm just looking at the sentence that's here, so I'm not understanding.
I'm on your side.
I'm not understanding it, maybe.
Well, when it's all said and done, we're all gonna be on the same side.
Yes, sir.
We need to
Okay.
schedule a meeting time, like a workshop.
All right.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Comment. And Chief Vickers, maybe you can give me a little bit of light, but what's the purpose of changing it to where you guys can have the discretion to use the run cost money the way that you see fit, that our contract limits you to where you can't really use them to benefit the department? What's the
Okay,
urgency of changing that?
I'll answer that one, that was my idea. Right now, I'm purposely saying my fire department, I'm trying to put together a brush truck, and we wrecked a tanker the other night. I have a little bit of money left over in my county fund that I cannot use. So the discretion of this $3.74 per mile and the $20 per hour, I want to take that money and set it into another account to where I can free it up, basically, where I can use it at my discretion at what I need to in my department to put together an apparatus or to put together a fire truck, which I cannot because y'all do not let us use our 32.5 on fire trucks.
Other than maintenance.
Other than maintenance, but I need more than maintenance and repair. I need a new fire truck, and I don't have the funds for a new fire truck.
But then that would go against the last sentence of 3.03 where it says about vehicles or assets acquired non-counting funds. Even though you have a discretion to use those funds, it's still counting funds. So if something comes up with a title issue, then is that gonna, and John C. might have to answer that,
The
does
addition,
that become an issue of title? Who holds the title to that new truck that you use county funds to purchase?
oh yeah, that was gonna come up.
Yeah, you did. I don't know how to change the verbiage. I'm sitting here telling y'all now, we're fixing to have a train wreck. We're gonna have all brand new bunker gear, we're gonna have all brand new fire hoses, and we're gonna have a 5-gallon bucket to tote water in. We have got to figure out how to replace these trucks that we wear out. I don't know how we're gonna do it. I'm not an English teacher to come up with that verbiage. But we have got to figure out how to replace fire trucks. If we use them and we wear them out, we've got to figure out how to replace them.
Chief Norwood.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that falls under 3.30 where it talks about annual funds, but I thought I heard you say run costs.
Right, I did. I'm trying to take what little bit of the price per mileage that we charge y'all and the price per hour that we charge y'all. I'm trying to take that and put into another account to where over the years, it might be 5,000, it might be 6,000, whatever it is, over the period of a year, and let that go towards purchasing another apparatus.
That's the run reimbursement.
That's the run reimbursement fund.
3.02
DB. And
Yes, you talk about them there, but the sentence,
Commissioner Walker, I was just saying
That's-
that those two sections
Okay.
contradict each other,
Okay.
the way that I understand it. They wanna use the run cost money to be able to pull aside and put towards a vehicle. But then down below in section 3.03, it states that we wouldn't have any right to capital assets that were purchased solely with non-county funds. Even though the money that they're talking about in 3.02 can be used at their discretions, it's still county funds. It's county funds that they can use at discretion. To me, those two areas contradict each other, so that would need to be clarified.
and run call, monies can only be used for what?
They're wanting to
Maintenance?
use those at their discretion. The way that the current contract that expires now, it falls under the same stipulations as the 3.03. With a $5,000 cap, it can only be used for maintenance and repair, no capital equipment. It can be used for and that stuff, but they're wanting to use, it's my understanding that they're wanting to use the run cost reimbursements at their discretion, which Chief Norwood said that they would put aside to help purchase a new apparatus, which would be considered a capital equipment with a title. Section .303 contradicts that because then they're using county funds.
I'm in agreement to a workshop so we can understand the differences between run cost reimbursement, what it can be expended on, and then what the annual funds can be expended on. I mean, you know, we have several new members, and then some of us old members need to really, because I showed you a list of things that were given to me that we could spend money, that they could spend money on, and we're not sure who or where that list
Yeah,
came from, and
I've never
it's
seen that
confusing
list.
to me. So maybe if in that time, if we could come up with the list on what could be spent for what, like that one was broken down, that would help us if we see it in writing rather than, you know, it was a list that talked about what the monies could be spent on. And it may have come from you all, might have come from you, Chief Vickers, a couple of years ago.
Grimes County Firefighter Department expenses.
The expenses.
No, that's not mine.
It's an expense list, but something like this that shows us what could be spent, what this money could be spent on.
That's a list of operating equipment and expenses that a department
Goes through.
is responsible for it on an annual basis. And you'll look on there that we have a vast array of equipment, and it's all mechanical, and it all requires repair and maintenance at some time. The reimbursement funds in 3.02B, the reimbursement funds are reimbursement of run costs. That's our work product. If we were a company and you were contracting to us for service, would this be in the contract? If we were a private company, and this is a service contract, this is what this is, it's a service contract. But all of a sudden, you have eminent domain over the funds that you purchased this contract with. The 32.5 is purchasing a contract for service. If we were bringing you rock to one of the county barns, I don't think that would be looked at as, well, we need to investigate, or we need to audit their books to make sure that all of the rocks came out of the fire truck, or came out of the dump truck. You purchase, you buy a contract for a service, and that service is either met or it's not met. But nobody that purchases a contract or the county buys a contract for is audited in the way that we're audited. We're audited as though we are a agency of county government.
Well,
Okay.
One thing I'm looking at is, the question is that you send a county employee off to a training or an event throughout the state or even to Washington, whatever. Do you pay, the county reimburses that county employee mileage and time for the vehicle
Personal use.
person's use, okay? So, do y'all audit that county's, that employee's bank account to find out how they spend their money?
No, not at the time.
Okay?
I understand what you're saying,
Okay.
Chief. We had this
I'm just trying
conversation.
to make this-
Could I make a comment just to be
Yes, you
clear?
may.
These are nonprofits that you're making a donation to.
Yes,
You're
sir.
providing fire protection service through VFDs. If you don't pay them money, they're gonna continue to exist as VFDs by fundraising or shrinking or whatever they have to do. That's why you have to audit their funds, is you are donating dollars to a nonprofit. You're not purchasing services here, so it's slightly different. I wanna be sure that we're clear about that.
And what I heard Chief Norwood say was the run cost reimbursements should be spent on what they're running in.
But that's all policy. That's up to you to make a call. This is, when he's saying should, he's saying from their perspective of what's right or what helps benefit the fire departments. And I'm not saying you don't want to do that. I'm just saying that you're limited with the number of dollars that you can throw at any one thing that you deem is appropriate for the taxpayer. VFWs are a group of folks getting together, or VFDs are a group of folks getting together saying, we want to have fire protection for our neighborhood. And it is not typically dependent upon the county funding them. They do it with fundraisers, they do it out of their pocket, they do whatever. This court has traditionally said, we're going to be a county that supports these guys, and we pay money to it. I'm told that there are counties where the county pays nothing to VFDs.
Right.
So when it comes to what dollars you're going to give them, they're saying to you how they could best operate. But you, on the other hand, have to balance everything else you have in the budget to say, how much do we give to VFDs? How much do we give to emergency services? How much do we give to the sheriff's department, road and bridge, et cetera? And this is a donation where essentially you're out of control of what they do on a daily basis. That was the purpose of the association, to see to it that they have training, that they do the things that they're required to do. You're giving dollars away, and that's the reason we audit the dollars, is because we're out of oversight control as far as what they do. The best we can do is have oversight on their dollars. So as to what they're requesting and how you structure it, I've heard it said to me, and I won't say who said this, but at some point, maybe you go to one check, and that's it, no run cost, we're giving one check. At some point, maybe you go to the county develops its own department. At some point, you're gonna have to rein in how many dollars you give, but it's always gonna be a rub because they need more dollars to do it the way that they think is right. And so you're just gonna have to figure that out between the two of them.
Well, I know that in other counties that we solicited once before on the listserv, we asked them how did they pay their volunteer fire departments or their fire departments. And many of them responded by a budgeted amount that they give to the fire departments. It's up to the fire department how they budget their money, how they use their money, but once that money's given, that's it from the county. The thing of it is, we deal with two different things. You know, they give one stipend, we're doing stipend plus run costs. And I guess that's where the confusion is coming
Well,
in.
and the fear is if you have a tiny department and they get the same amount as a big department, and let's say a number of people, number of apparatus, size of their area, whatever it may be, that may be somewhat unfair. So then you have to decide, how do you decide how big the check is, how small the check is? And that's why this run cost came in, that was a way that people are getting paid on the amount of work that they're actually doing, the calls they're responding to. So it's not an easy solution. I'm not
No,
saying
it's not.
simply make it a flat amount and that's an easy number to come up with, and it may not be straight across the board. There's always gonna be a rub. All you can do is the best you can do with the information that you have, but these are requests that they're making, and you're gonna have to decide when you can afford that and when you can't, or as a policy-wise, when you're willing to do it and when you're not.
Well, we still have that, it's much discussion to be had, because when you look at the budget, how it's grown since maybe 2012 when I came in to where it is now, at some point, it warrants that discussion on to how do we handle run costs, how do we handle budgeted annual amounts. Maybe it'd just be an annual amount, and they use them at their discretion, so that it's not, I mean, how do you get to that point where y'all are not stressed out as to what we audit and what we don't audit? And then yes, that's what I'm getting to.
It's how y'all
It's
set the
time to
policy.
review the policy.
Yes.
Did you suggest that Monday? Why not a workshop rather than just a conversation between them, but something we can all be part of?
You have Monday's schedule available?
No, but
The-
when did they say this has to be done?
That's the
Well-
issue, the
Yeah,
contract.
The contract ends and our county attorney does not like us to,
Right, I don't think anybody's gonna panic, and
Right.
as you said, the world's not gonna come to an end. We'll be okay, we'll continue to operate with the contract we have. If we address this on Monday, I think we'll be fine.
Monday's the first.
And we always did set y'all at a different time where everybody could come and everybody
Yeah, we
could
were hoping
contribute.
for a workshop before
That's-
this point.
But it didn't happen.
Well, they did.
But I don't think we would be in a position to object to continuance to the current contract until the new contract is approved. So if there's a week lapse, there's 5 days, or as long as you determine.
I'm not sure that this is complete, so I would probably need to run to my computer and check. Here,
Okay,
I go now.
could we come back?
We have no objection to that.
I have a meeting at 9 on Monday, so if we could do it after 9
it'll
o'clock.
have to be after 9.
What about in the
Be
afternoon?
better,
No, no, 72 hours is Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, okay.
be better in the afternoon for us, as long as we don't.
Be fine.
And meanwhile,
Go check, please.
You
If-
wanna- I can bring you a ream of paper.
no, I don't want a ream of
Expenses.
paper. I just want to understand what annual expenses at this current time can be spent on and what run costs can be spent on.
What they're proposing is, by changing that word annual, just should read that as 32.5. 32.5 cannot be spent on capital expenditures. All right, that's the issue. So they're saying the other stuff, the run cost in 3.02B, by adding that sentence, they can use that on capital expenditures. That's the
Okay,
difference.
okay.
Would the auditor's office have time to do your homework before we would meet on Monday?
And I'm not quite sure what type of homework that you
I'm not sure either.
need to
Well,
do.
But I
one
mean-
of the things I would
Just
propose,
here to
one of the things I would
voice our
propose, and maybe
concerns.
the auditor, I'm sorry, Khalid, I
Go ahead.
stepped all over you.
It's okay.
One of the things I would propose is if you wanna know what impact that $5 a run is gonna cost you, you need to know how much it would have cost you last year.
That's
So
part
if
of
you
it.
can put together the number of runs and just get an average or guess as to, an educated guess as to how many people responded, you can figure out what that's gonna cost you in the coming year potentially.
That information is already required to be submitted in our quarterly report. How many people respond on which apparatus to which call. So the auditor's office should have a running number.
And they may, and I'm not saying that they need to provide, I'm just saying that may be the information that
We
you
can
want to
provide
consider.
it.
All right. If you will allow us, we're gonna table this for the time being. Let Sheree get back with calendar dates. And then we're gonna move on down the agenda, and we'll come back to this agenda item. So Monday is clear all day. You got, fire departments have said the afternoon works better. What is afternoon? After lunch or afternoon?
Whatever. After lunch.
After lunch?
We don't want anybody not to be,
All right.
short of sustenance.
We'll get the notice out, but we'll plan on a workshop at 1 o'clock on Monday. Mr. Foltz, would that give you time to take care of
Sure.
your 9 o'clock business?
You bet.
Auditors? Okay.
Judge, will we take an action on Monday, or was it just a
We'll
workshop?
do a workshop to get our language and everything, and then we can get it back on an agenda to get it approved. But when we come back to this, we'll,
Why don't we
and
just,
we'll just, all right. To the world out there in viewing land, we know what we're doing, sort of. So let's go back to agenda item number 8, since we're going to set a workshop for that on Monday. Is there a motion to extend the,
can I ask a question?
I don't know, yes, you may.
For the sake of time, could it be a special meeting and where we can discuss and make, rather than bringing back another day?
We can put in there, discuss and take action.
Right, and I would say, nobody asked me, but that happens a lot. I say something nobody asked me. Workshop is not a term that is found in the government code.
Correct.
It is a term that we have made up as a policy. We typically call a workshop to convey that there may not be action, but that's not required. So you can call a workshop, you can call a special meeting, I don't care what name or label you stick on it. My thought is, since there is the potential that we may want to act, knowing that this contract will have expired, we might want to take action on it for Monday.
That's fine. We will put it together as discuss and take action. All right, back to agenda item number 8. Is there a motion to extend the current contract until a future contract can be agreed upon?
I make the motion to extend the current contract until,
Can I ask you just to extend it till Monday?
Till
We're gonna
Monday.
meet, and if we put this on Monday, then you can extend it again if need be.
to Monday, October second? Is it first?
Yeah.
First.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion before the court by Commissioner Walker, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski, to extend the current contract with volunteer fire departments until Monday, October the 1st. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. So firefighters, if y'all would like to stay for the rest of our agenda, feel free to do so, but there will be written notice posted that we will have a special meeting Monday at 1 p.m. And court's available?
Nope.
Oh, it's not? Where are we gonna hold it?
Well, I'll call,
Anderson?
Mayor Sowell and see if I get the.
There's a good chance it'll be at Anderson City Hall, but we'll have it on the posting and it'll be on the website, so please review that. Agenda item number 9, discuss and approve the Emergency First Responders, or EMFR Inc. contract. See attachment number 9. It's my understanding this contract is identical to the last contract that we have approved.
Except for the date.
I believe
Well, of
that's
course, the
right.
dates, but, I mean, as far as the language and all.
As far as the dollar amount, it is still 15,000.
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
And it's, it has that $5, and my understanding is that's where the VFDs came up with that, is to mirror what's in this agreement. I may be wrong about that.
They do. Is there any discussion?
I don't have any. Commissioner Mallett, did you have a conversation with Ms. Rhonda Ritchie?
Yes, and I need to have a further one, I guess about some training. I know that this one talks about training. I need to talk to her about, you know, what her.
Commissioner Mallett, I'm gonna ask you to speak up, please.
I need to talk to her about what, additional funding she might need with that. But she mentioned that, I don't know if she's maybe out of funds now for the remaining year or what she might need for future. It'd probably be a conversation for the next contract.
The president of the administrator, Ms. Rhonda Ritchie, is, the first responders are always looking for responders to grow their organization. And in doing so, there's training involved, and she's willing to put in the work. So as I guess this is a plea, or if we have any people out there that are emergency care attendants or hold any of those certifications, we ask that you reach out to our first responders organization. We are looking for first responders all over the county. I think we currently have 7 or 8, if I make no mistake. I don't have any question. Does anybody else have any questions? If not, I'd like to make the motion that we approve the emergency EMFR Inc. contract.
Second.
And it calls for all of our signatures, so.
There's a motion before the court presented by Commissioner Walker, seconded by Commissioner Mallett on agenda item number 9. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 10, Road and Bridge, Mr. Harry Walker, consider and take action to award the culverts contract, see attachment 10.
Thank you.
Good morning.
As you will recall, our annual bid for culverts, I asked you to table when these were originally presented. We have since had time to tabulate and compare these bids. There were 3 bids received. Wilson Culverts, Coburn Supply, and Preferred Pipe. Preferred Pipe only submitted a bid for HDPE pipe, which we do not allow under the county roads, so that bid is non-responsive. Of the other 2, Wilson Culverts is the low bidder across the board on the pipe sizes that we were able to compare. They have been our annual provider for several years, and we're recommending that the contract be awarded to them for the 2019 fiscal year.
Move to award the culverts contract to Wilson Culverts.
Second motion. Thank you.
I just have a question, then we'll go to a vote. Are either one of those companies a Grimes County company?
I don't have the actual contracts here. I do not know off the top of my head.
If not, it might be a business opportunity for somebody. There's a motion before the court by Commissioner Mallett, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski on agenda item number 10. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 11 is also yours, Mr. Walker. Consider and take action regarding special road use indemnity agreement for Strike LLC, Magellan Pipeline Construction Project. See attachment number 11.
special use indemnity agreement for Strike LLC. Strike LLC is the construction contractor for Magellan Pipeline. You have previously approved a pipeline permit for Magellan for this pipeline. In front of you today, the road use agreement allows them to use the county's roads with overweight loads. There's a listing of the roads to be used in the back of the application. Quite a few roads because this pipeline traverses essentially the full length of the county from north to south. They follow the center point alignment in the south end of the county up to in the area of High Point Elementary, and then they deviate from that alignment and leave the county close to Highway 30 at the Navasota River, so diagonal off to the northwest. They have provided all of the documentation we've requested. We have their certificate of insurance. We have met with them. We have inspected the roads, and they have provided a check to the county for additional maintenance work that needs to be done on these roads to put them in shape to be used by these roads. And I believe they probably have the engines idling on their equipment as we speak. They are anxious to get started. This project, I believe, is about a 16-month project. We have several representatives from both Magellan Pipe and Strike here to answer any detailed questions. If there's anything y'all would like to ask.
No, but I don't have anything to ask. I do want to say I appreciate the legwork and the research that you do when you present these things to us, because regularly the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, and any questions that I have, if I will read what you've submitted, my questions are answered. And I just appreciate your skill and ability to get that for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, is there a motion for agenda item number 11?
Judge, I move that we approve the special road use and indemnity agreement for Strike LLC, the Magellan Pipeline Construction Project.
Second motion.
If I might ask if, for, just to be formal, if you will ask the, authorize the judge and one of the commissioners to sign the permit.
To include signature from the judge and a commissioner. That's the amendment to the motion.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 11 by Commissioner Cox, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski, with the amendment to have the county judge as signatory and one county commissioner. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Barker, if you'd like to give us the road and bridge report, feel free to speak up.
We have been continuing the final roads in our annual paving project. As of today, we should be completing the last of the roads that we had scheduled for chip sealing this summer. We're working on Macria as we speak. There are a couple of roads that we had planned to do this summer that we were not able to complete, primarily due to the run of wet, rainy weather we've had the last few weeks. We are going to continue and complete those here in October if the weather will cooperate. But with what we're completing today, we will finish about 9.5 miles of paving this summer. We can hope to get to 12 miles. So a little bit short of the target, but we are going to go ahead and take care of that as quickly as we can.
Do you think that would occur this calendar year?
If the weather for October is good, the chip sealing process requires pretty warm conditions to be effective. If the weather cooperates, we should be able to finish that this calendar year. If not, we'll come back next spring and pick up where we left off.
Thank you.
Elsewhere, we have taken advantage of the rainy weather to go ahead and do some of our level up and just general repair work on the asphalt roads. There's a listing in the report. We've been able to hit quite a few roads here in the last few weeks, and made some folks happy with that. Elsewhere, the Great All Crews continuing to work on preparation for some of the chip sealing and paving projects. We also, the bridge on County Road 132 is now officially open. That project has been completed, and that is one of our EMP projects that's paired up with one of the TxDOT bridges that we'll be replacing later on. We also, the County Road 404 structure is open to traffic now. We don't have the guardrails on it yet, so it's just got barrels and flagging up on the sides right now, but it is open to traffic again. A lot of folks that are happy about that live out there. It's been closed for a long time.
When do you think the roads will be up?
They are working on getting the new material for that as we speak. Hopefully next week they'll be done with that.
Great, thank you.
Any questions?
I have a comment. If we have some officials here from Magellan, I'd like to get some contacts since a lot of this is in my precinct, because I will be getting some calls, I'm sure.
I have a contact list that they provided. I will provide that to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Greg Cannon, are you still here? Yes, you are. Okay, if you'll come to the podium. Agenda item number 12, consider and approve request for emergency funds in the amount of $26,723.30 to contract an incidents response team to remediate the Emotet malware virus from Grimes County Network C, attachment 12.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Judge, for allowing me to appear before the court today. My name is Greg Cannon. I'm the Director of IT for Grimes County. This emergency request is, as the Judge mentioned, is for the removal of Emotet, a virus categorized by the FBI as critical. The 4 layers that they specify are low, medium, high, and critical. Critical meaning it can have very adverse effects on the network that it's attached to. Just to kind of briefly go through why I'm asking for the emergency request is that we have been infected by Emotet. There's approximately 55 machines that we know are infected. It's been classified as critical by the FBI. As I mentioned, we have been breached. We're working to contain that and keep it from spreading. But this type of virus is it's not easily detectable, and it can't be easily removed by most antivirus. There's only a few virus programs out there that can detect it and help remediate it. But even then, there's not a tool that can remove it. It requires a special team, what they call incident response teams. I only know of about 4 or 5 in the country that do this type of work. They're obviously very expensive by what they do. This new strand of viruses is very smart. It's very powerful. And it's very destructive. I'll talk about a little bit the 5 things that it can do once it's on your network. But what's at risk is our data, the sheriff's data. I've talked to Todd extensively about this. The criminal databases they have over there, if those were to get stolen or captured by this virus and sent back to its originating country, they've got criminals' social security numbers, all their pertinent information going back for years. So identity theft could be huge. We could be at risk of lawsuit from citizens of the county or outside the county. It would be a tarnishment upon the reputation of the county if we don't contain this and remediate this process. It will dramatically affect the position of the county. Also help reduce user frustration and help increase productivity if we can get back to normal operations. Emotet has been around since 2014, but since late 2017, early 2018, it's taken on a new strand. It used to just be a banking Trojan that would try to steal banking information, but the hackers have converted it to do lots of other things now. It can steal passwords, it can send spam out from your PC, which is what we're seeing a lot of the machines that are infected now. It can capture keystroke
information, so if you log into confidential databases and sites like Harry or like the sheriff does, some of these crimes databases, things like that, if that's on there, it's capturing that information and sending it back to the home country. It can steal all of your email addresses and use that as a spam list. It can install ransomware on your machine, and once you get ransomware, there's no way to get it off unless you erase the entire machine or you pay the company the ransom to get your data back. I see instances all the time. I went to an FBI presentation last week, and the FBI no longer investigates instances where there's not less than $1 million that's being stolen or lost, because they've got so many cases of this type of virus affecting so many people that they just don't have the resources to go after it unless it's more than $1 million of loss. Another bad thing about it, it can download and install other software. If you try to kill it or remove it, it sees that it's being attacked and it automatically spreads. So it's a very vicious, very intelligent type of virus. And that's why the FBI is categorized as critical.
You said download other software. You're speaking of viruses.
Yeah, to do all kinds of other things. Whatever new comes out, now he's got a back door. He can go in and if this new virus comes out that nobody knows about, they can install it and start doing other things. And all this happens in a matter of seconds when a person clicks on an email, opens an attachment to an email that they thought was an invoice coming from somebody to be paid, and they click on it, they open that document, or they click on the link. In a matter of a second and a half, all the things I just talked about take place. It's very, very rapid, and the thing that scares the FBI is it's able to, before viruses would maintain themselves on a single machine, this virus has the ability to spread across a network and jump across regions, locations. As long as that virus is connected to some other system, it can spread across, unless they have measures in place to stop it. The Department of Homeland Security says about 73% businesses in the United States are affected with this, and they don't even know it. May not know it for 6 to 9 months. That's how undetectable it is. We had an inkling that indications are, when talking to some of the security companies, that sometime between November and early February of this past year is when they think we first got infected. A unique habit of this virus is it'll infect itself and go to sleep and hide itself and wait 6 months before it wakes up to do something to try to keep from being detected. It's mainly in the U.S., as you can tell by the graph. 80% of infections are caused by email, by spam email, clicking on a link that you weren't supposed to, or opening attachments you weren't supposed to. Right now they say viruses are costing, this type of virus is costing businesses about $2 billion a year. They're expecting that to go to $6 trillion by the year 2021. So it's very rapid growth, and the danger that this can cause a company or organization. What can we do? You'll notice the list. Some of the things we've got check marks on, those things that we've already done. We have to remove the threat. We just don't have the resources, we don't have the knowledge that these teams do to be able to remove this. So we can, I say we, me and Andrew can continue to try to fight, work with organizations that provide free services, and we can try to remediate this virus. I don't think we're gonna have very much luck. I think we're gonna have this special team, and that's why I'm asking this request of the commissioners and the court. We're in the process of changing passwords. I think we've got everybody's password changed to complexity. There's a few that we still have to follow up on, but that keeps them from hacking our passwords, which are more complex or harder to crack. We're removing administrator rights for users, because if a virus gets on a machine and that user has full admin rights, that virus can do anything he wants to do. So we're pulling back that. It doesn't diminish the ability of the user to do their work. We don't take away those kind of rights. It's just administrative rights that allow a user on that machine to do certain things. We're installing a firewall on 8/12 of October that will help block more of the traffic, block some of the viruses, block the spam. It'll be a very valuable step that we're taking towards keeping that out. The county has never had a firewall in the past, so this will be the first time we've had a firewall.
You're gonna install it when?
October 12th.
Oh, I put 8/12, sorry, should be 10/12. We talked to both mail providers right now, EU WebWorks and Sierra. They've added high-level spam filters to our email systems. I've talked to some of the users, they're seeing a reduction in the amount of spam, but it's not to the level I would like to see. But as I mentioned, Emotech comes in through spam. The more we can reduce the spam, the less likelihood we are to get infected in the future. We have CrowdStrike. It's one of the most advanced antivirus products on the market. We have it installed on all of our machines, and we went from typically what we were seeing was around 3,000. I wouldn't, not infections, but tick marks of activity of viruses on there, from 3,000 a day to downward less than 5 a day. So this program is helping definitely contain the virus. Now we've got to pull it out by its roots. We're starting to train users on, how to open spam emails, how to look at them to see if they are spam emails, how to get rid of them. We had a session on Monday. We had about 20 people show up. There's a great interest to continue those, not only of the use of software, but on the use of security techniques and what users can do to protect themselves, not only here, but at home as well.
And I think that's when you encouraged everybody to get a flip phone, right?
Yeah, everybody should get a flip phone. Right, because believe it or not, there's over 24,000 attacks, individual attacks on cell phones each day. Unique attacks across cell phones across the United States. So it's getting to be a big deal where if they can't get you on the computer, they're going to go for your cell phone. I was giving an example where when Target got hit, they were breached by a wireless thermostat was in the building. Hackers hacked into the wireless thermostat, which allowed them then to connect to a point of sales cash register, which then allowed them to connect to the network. It cost Target hundreds of millions of dollars just because of a wireless thermostat. So it gets to be important that we protect the county assets, protect the data, protect the users. Because if right now we allow users to check their banking information or whatever on the county computers. Well, that could be detrimental if they're here checking their banking system and that virus logs their keystrokes and now goes on and logs into their bank account and takes all their money. That could be very detrimental. The benefits and what we could expect with this emergency spending, we'd be protecting our data in our network, the data at the sheriff's office, the data in the county, all the county records. A lot of it's public information, but a lot of it's not. We hope to reduce the spam attacks with Firewall and with this company monitoring our system. We'd have a reduced amount of traffic because we wouldn't have, the networks would perform faster because we wouldn't have data going in and out from spam emails from these viruses doing things in the background and getting up our bandwidth. They provide protection assistance for 1 year. They basically take over our antivirus system with us kind of as a right-hand person. They monitor on a 24-hour basis. They immediately quarantine any machines that they see any suspicious activity, and they go in remotely and remove that. They teach us how to look for those anomalies and how to remediate them ourselves so we don't need them long-term. But they will provide protection for a year, 24/7 monitoring service and remediation services. So in case, once we do get it removed out, somebody inadvertently clicks on another spam email, we get infected again, they get notified instantly. They quarantine that machine, they get it remediated, they show us what the results were, how to correct it in the future, and then they put that computer back on the network. They provide a $1 million protection guarantee against the damage that if they miss a virus that comes in, they provide $1 million protection against damage that virus does in that machine. Do your commissioners have any questions about the company of the service?
I'm not a commissioner, but I'd like to, at the meeting we had the other day, and I want to be sure we pointed out for the court as well as anybody may be watching, there's no reason to believe this has any impact on the voting systems that are in the elections office. Those are on closed systems that are not attached to the county's network.
Correct, correct.
And I also want to say that the information you gave out during the session, I wish all our departments could hear it and know, because like you said, we're getting more and more requests for invoices, strange stuff that I've never seen before. And it's coming from people that we know, and we just assume, we assume that that's their email to us. So you did show us the differences in noticing who it's coming from and those type of things. So I hope that you'll have it again, and that more departments may, or at least someone from every department, be almost required to come and share that information with their coworkers.
Thank you. And I do plan to try to have those at least monthly. And we also talked about lunch and learn sessions where you bring your sack lunch, and we'll talk about how to get the most benefit out of Outlook, Word, Excel, different things like that. So.
Yeah, Greg, I appreciate you conducting those meetings, and it was really informative regarding our IT system. And we have a lot of money invested at this point in the IT structure, or the network structure throughout the county. And through at least my time here, I know that you've been trying to make us aware and everybody else aware of some of the issues that were coming down the pipe with regard to some of these viruses. And it looks like we've stumbled onto the mother lode here, unfortunately. But I do appreciate your efforts in doing what you're doing to contain some of these problems, so that we can have a productive network system throughout the county that is responsive to the departments and the taxpayers. So I just appreciate your efforts on that.
Just to give a couple more examples, there was a school district in North Carolina that was recently hit with Emotet. They also had CrowdStrike. One user clicked on one email. In less than 24 hours, they had noticed something was awry. They saw activity that looked on the network. They were monitoring the network. They saw unusual activity. They immediately began to isolate and quarantine parts of the environment. By the time they discovered it, less than 24 hours later, almost 700 machines were infected. They had to hire 10 engineers that worked 1,200 hours at a cost of $345,000 to the school district to get that virus off. They had 3,000 machines, but only 700 were affected. We're kind of in the same scenario, not on the same quantity scale, but about a third of our machines we think are infected. The city of Atlanta was hit with it last year. It cost them several $100 million to get it removed off their networks. The city of Allentown, Pennsylvania, it cost them, working with Microsoft, $1 million to get it off of their system. So it's very serious stuff. And I just want to emphasize that we really only have three choices. We can erase every computer in the county at a tremendous cost and man hours and frustration to the users to try to get it off. We can hire a remediation type company to help us get it off, keep it off, and train us to how to train the users and to help us keep it off. Or we can try to just continue to fight it ourselves in the hopes that at some point we get it off, which dealing with something like this, that kind of scares me because it's very complex stuff, and it would eat up a lot of my time in trying to continually fight that.
And I'll make a comment. Greg and I talked about this. I had come back from a seminar and had heard about this and everything, and I was talking to him about it, and he said, yeah, that he had been talking to a couple of companies about it, and at first they wanted to say they would do it for $45,000 to get it off of our computers, and he negotiated with them and got it down to the 26.
So this would be through emergency funds, because this is,
It's not basically corporate, it's unforeseen.
It's unforeseen, and we're talking 26,723.
Yes.
I think that's a small price to pay.
Compared to.
He's listed examples of multi-million-dollar hacks, not to say that would happen here, but I mean, we're talking personal information and other things that we need to consider and what the value of those are as well. So I'm willing to make the motion.
Go ahead.
I move that we approve emergency funds in the amount of $26,723.30 to contract with Incident Response Team to remediate the Emotet malware virus from the Grimes County network.
I second it.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 12 by Commissioner Cox, seconded by Commissioner Walker. Is there further discussion? Take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Kennedy, if you'll stand by, agenda item number 13, consider and approve consolidating current 2 email domains into a single email address, GrimesCountyTexas.gov, for all county employees, including law enforcement. See attachment number 13. This is my fault, it's on the agenda, but I'll take ownership on it. I just thought the co.grimes.tx.us was a little bit confusing and laborious, and I asked Greg to do Mr. Cannon to do some research as to what domain addresses might be out there that would make sense for Grimes County and maybe be a little bit easier. He looked at the requirements and restrictions since we are a government entity, and talked to some people, talked to the sheriff's office about what would work and what wouldn't work. So Greg, do you want to base it on that?
Basically, what had started this conversation for me, along with I had the same concerns as the sheriff, is in talking to people and giving out our address, I found it was very cumbersome for them to know our email address, co.grimes.tx.us. It became very cumbersome, and the sheriff's office had a different address, and my thought was to try to make us more of a complete entity where we share all the same email addresses as a county, not the sheriff has one and we have a different one. But also I had an additional purpose for it. I was hoping to move all of us to a hosted exchange by May of this year, but with the viruses and everything else that happened, we didn't get that chance. But when you move an existing domain like co.grimes.tx.us to a new mail hosting company, that becomes very involved. Without going into a lot of technical reasons, it could take 6 to 8 weeks to do that in a live environment. Unless you just move everybody at once, and it becomes very time intensive. And so my thought was, if we were looking at changing to a domain, and I asked the judge about it, it makes it very easy for us because we can stand up the new domain. Let's say, like there was an instance for a domain name for a county, it has to meet certain requirements. It has to include the county name. It has to include the word county or abbreviation of county. It has to include the state or abbreviation of the state. So we looked up several examples. One of them was GrimesCountyTexas.gov or GrimesCountyTX.gov. And we kind of tossed those two around. We thought those are good examples. We'd like to bring them before the commissioners, see what they thought. We can always go back to the drawing board and find others. From an IT standpoint, it makes no difference what we name it. From a user standpoint, you want to come up with something that rolls off the tongue, easy to give out, as short as possible. But from a migration standpoint, it makes it a light and day difference for us because now we can stand up the new domain instantly. We can begin to forward users' emails to that new domain and begin to transfer users to that new mail system almost instantly. And we can do it one at a time, where before we were going to have to do bulks or groups or even the whole county at one time. So it makes the transition much smoother. It gives us a common global address list. Anytime you're looking up somebody's email address, if they're in the sheriff's office, you got to remember they've got a sheriff's office email address. You can't find them in the global list because they're not in the global list. So you have to either call somebody who knows it, or you got to have a list written down somewhere where you can pull it up. We can have shared distribution lists. So if I create a distribution list called department heads, it's going to include the sheriff's office as well. It'll be common across the whole county. We'll have better spam filters. The system we're thinking about moving to is the Microsoft Hosted Exchange. They have over 2.5 billion users worldwide. So they have very good spam systems in place when you have to deal with that that much email, that many users. Their availability is always up. There's been 2 instances, just since I've been here, that both the WebWorks and Sierra have gone down for extended periods. Sierra was down for almost 10 hours one day. So they have a 5.9 availability, means they're up almost 100% of the time. Migration of email would be easier with a single domain. There's a single email system support. Right now we have, because we're on 2 different email systems, the WebWorks and Sierra, they have different rules of how big of file attachments you can send, how big of an email you can send, how many emails you can send a day. That's different. That's difficult for us to manage and maintain. Another big one, moving to this new domain by doing this combined domain, is shared calendars. This is a big thing that the DA's office has asked, Cherie's asked for, Al's asked for. It allows us to build calendars that can be shared across organizations, so that you can see what's on a master calendar or see what else is on somebody else's calendar. So when you're trying to schedule meetings, it makes it much easier to coordinate those meetings. You can have multiple calendars. So if you want to have a court calendar, you want to have a whatever type of calendar you want, you can create multiple calendars that don't necessarily tie to a user. You can have resource calendars. So let's say you've got a conference room or a courtroom that you want to reserve, but you want everybody to have access to being able to reserve that room. You can do those kind of things. All the users would be on a single email system, Exchange email system. We'd have much larger mailboxes, much larger attachment size, much larger emails, unrestricted ability to send how many emails you want to send a day or a period of time. And a nice feature about this, if the state mandates it to the local county governments, right now we're depending on users not to delete their emails. We have some users that don't delete anything, right, Nicholas? And then we have users that delete everything, and you go look at their mailbox and everything's empty. Delete items, inbox, everything's gone. Well, from a state regulatory position, they want you to maintain, keep your emails for any county business that you do for a period, I think, of 2 years. Well, you have to establish that as policy. How do you manage and monitor that? Well, in this system, if mandated and we have the budget for it later, we can flip a switch, and every email that comes into the county government is automatically archived, and we can pull it for discovery purposes in case we're ever in a lawsuit. We don't have to go back to the user and say, hey, show me your emails last August to this person. We can go to a master console and we can pull that information. Even if they delete everything in their mailbox, we still got a copy of it because it makes a copy of every email that comes in. So you don't have to worry about accidentally deleting an email from a commissioner I wasn't supposed to delete. How do I get it back? We got copies of all that. So if that does come down as a state mandated regulation for counties, we'll be able to turn that option very quickly. Just flip the switch. So from my standpoint, it makes our job a lot easier to migrate that next big step of us getting on a common email system with all the added benefits. It's just up to the county to decide what they would like that new domain to be. Grimes County TX, Grimes County Texas. It'll be a .gov address. Anybody have any questions?
I don't have a question. I have a concern that we're at the end of our budget cycle going into a new year, and many people have ordered a lot of printed material with their old email addresses on. It just seems like the timing for this could have been a little bit better because we all ordered new paperwork and stuff. So,
and we'll keep the old email available as long as we can keep it as long as we want. It only comes down to you're paying for 2 systems then, because we would bring mail coming into co.grimes.tx would then get forwarded to your .gov address, and we can keep that up for a period of time so people can send out notifications saying, hey, we have all new email addresses in the county. If they reply to the email address, it'll come from their new address. Anything that comes in wouldn't get lost. It would still come into the old address. But you're right. Anybody has business cards printed, if they had letterhead printed, that would be an issue that have to be addressed.
And that was one of the questions I asked Greg, would that stuff still be valid? He goes, yes, because even if they send it to your old email, it'll come to your new email. When you respond, it'll be giving your receivers the new email address, and they can transition over a period of time, but.
And to address your question, I kind of thought ahead. I created an account on gotprints.com. It's like Vista Prints. It's an online printing service. Took the county business card, created an exact copy of it, and they can print 500 cards front and back for $8.47.
Wow.
Which is a lot cheaper than what we've been paying. I mean, we've been
Yeah,
look-
but if they go through some of the bills I've seen in the past for printing, my concern is now, what does that cost us in terms of a new email and then retaining the old email until?
Right, we pay right now, through Sierra about $400 a month for all of our Sierra accounts that would then get transferred to the new system. So that period of time there where we're on the new system, where that user's got mail forwarding, we would still be paying that $400 a month for that email until we shut them off. And it's based on the users. So let's say the first month we have 100 users, the next month we have 75 users, and then each month it goes down, our bill will go down on that side as well.
Okay, so it's based on the number of
Yeah,
users.
and it's month to month. It's not a locked-in price per month for a year contract or anything. It's just based on per user per month. And we already have approved in the budget this new email system. It's already in the 2019 budget. It's already been approved. So we're transferring systems to a system that's already been approved in the budget.
What wasn't approved was the name.
Right.
This is gonna be Microsoft what?
It's called Microsoft Hosted Exchange. A lot of people call it Office 365. It's basically Microsoft's becomes our mail server.
With Sierra, did they have anything, because they are Texas Association of Counties, basically, did they offer anything that protected counties, or because they understood counties more?
What we had them add DMARC and SPF and TLEC filters to their system. They didn't have them until we asked to have them put on. But yeah, they have the ability to add those to their email system to filter spam and things like that.
Is that for 365, or was that for?
365 has that plus more.
Okay.
And we looked at using Sierra's Exchange version, but it's $10 per user per month, where the system we're going to is $4 per user per month. And Microsoft was about
Far better than.
7% cheaper.
Yep.
How long can you forward those emails?
And as long as we want to pay for that account to stay open on the old system to forward to the new, indefinite. I recommended to the judge somewhere between 90 to 120 days, but that would be up to the commissioners to decide. Because it's just it's a cost factor. How soon before we get people moved over is better, but you don't want to leave people that haven't emailed you in a couple months, all of a sudden email you and it gets rejected. You want to make sure that you give people plenty of notice, let them know that your email's changed, send out notifications, those kind of things, so that people are fully aware of it. So when you do shut off the old system, no emails are not rejected.
Greg, if they go with the domain that you proposed, did the GC and the T have to be capitalized?
No.
I can see a lot of people complaining about that if they did.
Yeah, that's the great thing about email. It can be all uppercase or all lowercase. It's not case sensitive. I like to capitalize it so it's easy to read.
And the reason we didn't think of this sooner is you didn't put me in until last December, so it's the best I could do.
And all the ones that have just gotten new cards, they could just get labels and put their new address on the back of the card.
But it's still good.
But it's still good.
So this would definitely help us make the next big jump and we've talked about the projects that I have on the schedule, this is one of the big projects. This would allow us to accelerate that rather quickly and probably be able to get it up and operational, early to late, or mid to late October. We can start transferring people to the new email system.
Court, this doesn't need to be decided today. I have had time to think about it and talk about it with Greg, but I would like the sooner we capture the domain name and go to that domain name. I think it's going to be easier for us.
I don't have a problem with the domain name.
Okay?
Do you have a preference, Grimes? And I'd like to hear from maybe the public. Do you have a consensus, Grimes County TX, Grimes County Texas.gov? Do you have any other suggestions?
You say you wanna ask them?
Anybody
I
have
like
any-
that you spell out all the words, so you don't have to remember which one was the abbreviation.
And that's why we went with Grimes County, Texas, everything spelled out, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Will that affect our website? Will
Yeah,
that change
there was,
as well?
no, the website would stay until we decide, there's been some discussion with Cherie, I know Vanessa, y'all have expressed some frustration with the web editing tools that y'all use with Sierra, and there's been some talk, could we go to a new tool, but that's down the road. We could keep the existing domain, we own the domain, and so the websites themselves would stay the same until, if and when we decide we wanna take that domain and make it our website domain as well, and come up with a new tool for editing that. That would also dramatically reduce our cost to Sierra as well, as far as, we still want to be a member of Sierra, but we wouldn't be involved in hosting our website. And
Right.
all the money that we spend there, we could host it elsewhere for a lot less and have more direct control of it.
Could it be hosted for less than $1,500 a year?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Probably be hosted for less than $20 a month.
Any other comments? I'll make a motion that, on agenda item number 13, that we accept the new domain name for GrimesCountyTexas.gov with everything being spelled out.
Second motion.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 13 by County Judge Joe Faust, seconded by Commissioner David Dobianski. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Cannon, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Agenda item number 14, review and approve proposed 2019 holiday schedule, reallocating the 8 available hours from Texas Independence Day, which falls on Saturday in 2019, to Friday, July the 5th, 2019. See attachment 14. We have a requirement to put together the holiday schedule each year for the county. And Commissioner Dobianski noticed that the 4th of July was on a Thursday, and we also noticed that Texas Independence Day is on a Saturday, March the 2nd, 2019, and said, well, we're already off on Saturdays. We could take off the Friday before, but I looked on the website or on the internet, and a lot of the Texas Independence celebrations are going to be conducted on that Saturday. So why don't we take that Friday holiday and move it to Friday, July the 5th? So with the United States Independence Day, we'd have a Thursday, Friday double-day holiday. So that's what's before you, along with the other traditional holidays the county has agreed to in the past.
Give you a 4-day weekend, see?
There's no objection over here. You wanna make a motion? We can move on.
Is there any other discussion on it?
Judge, are you also gonna make a determination that the 120 hours equals 8 hours?
That's another discussion, madam.
Okay, just ask.
That's fine. We're not gonna have that discussion right now, though.
Okay.
All right.
If there's no further discussion, I move that we approve 2019 holiday schedule, reallocating the 8 hours available from Texas Independence Day to Friday, July the 15th, 2019.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 14 by Commissioner Dobianski, second by Commissioner Barbara Walker. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 15, consider and take action to approve the County Child Welfare Services non-financial agreement and authorize the county judge as signatory attachment 15. It's a fairly lengthy document, but we have had it before us for a little bit of time. Mr. Foltz, I sent you a last-minute email yesterday afternoon. I don't know if you had time to review that or if that's even an issue for discussion today.
If I know the email that you're referring to, I don't know that it's an issue. I would point out to you that
I sent it to Corey because I had difficulty trying to find your email.
Trying to remember my email address?
That's
Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
What is your email address for the world to know?
I'm not disclosing that.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, no. The provision in question, so the agreement is the same as before.
Correct.
It's, just, I would point out for the court that it's a 7-year agreement. Generally, I would have some concern about a lengthy agreement like that, but you'll recall the Child Welfare Board essentially supports families and or children that are involved in the CPS system to provide dollars where maybe CPS or even CASA can't provide dollars that are for gifts for kids to make them more comfortable in a foreign circumstance, whether it's Christmas or whether it's just presents other times of the year. So given that that's the circumstance, and of course, as the court knows, I represent the Child Protective Services in the county, and so I'm familiar with what they do, and I'm familiar with CASA's work. I don't work a whole lot with the Child Welfare Board, but I'm aware of what they do. There is a provision that says if the county becomes aware of an arrest or investigation of abuse or neglect conducted by federal, state, or local agency, then the county will notify DFPS within 10 business days. It's important that you read all of that together, an arrest involving abuse or neglect. I'm not aware of any concern that we know of that needs to be addressed that involves an arrest of abuse or neglect. If there were to be a case like that, someone on the board were alleged to have committed that, then we would have an obligation to notify the department. The department would then make the determination whether the volunteer would have contact with the client. In other words, the issue would be whether you had someone who was on this board that is county endorsed that had been alleged to have committed some offense against a child.
Right.
And would the department leave that person on? Would the department recommend leaving the person on? Would the department allow contact with children and families? Probably not. But that's the issue that's addressed in the black and the white. Other issues don't seem to be relevant as far as that provision is concerned. The county is the one that typically approves the members recommended to the board.
Thank you for your counsel.
May I address the
You may.
Child Welfare Board? Since 3.5 years ago, I have served as a liaison to the board. When I came on with the Child Welfare Board, we had about 6 members. A lot of times we couldn't get a quorum there to hold a meeting. We are up to, I think, 15 members now on the board. We have recently completed revising the rules of the Child Welfare Board in Grimes County, and we are currently serving about 30 children a month, more or less, each month that are put in foster care in the county. We have one family, I think, that is a foster care family in the county, and most of those other children are shipped out of the county. And we have to, do we pay for the services there, Mary, or do the other counties pay for them on it? We pay for them when they go out,
If
right?
they go out of our county, they're still from our county.
Yeah, we still
and
have-
we still provide the, clothes for school and money for Christmas presents and stuff.
And the Child Welfare Board also gives money for Christmas gifts to the host families of those children. I also furnish clothing for the kids at the beginning of the school year, and then again in January, I believe.
It's just that, you know, neither organization gives them a lot, because like for the older kids, our allotment for school clothes is $250. Well, if you got a teenager and you're trying to get them clothes for school, $250 is not gonna go very far on getting clothes for school. And so, we are looking for ways to raise additional funds so that we can increase our support to these kids.
One final thing is that I started, and I didn't complete the thought, would typically have a concern with a multi-year agreement like this, but you can terminate on 30 days notice. And
Yes,
so, there's no financial obligation to the county, and you can terminate essentially at any time.
Correct. Commissioner Dobianski, since you have an awareness of this, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I move that we approve the County Child Welfare Services non-financial agreement and authorize the county judge as signatory.
Is there a second?
Second it.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 15 by Commissioner David Dobianski, seconded by Commissioner Barbara Walker. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 16. Consider and take action to approve the interlocal agreement for maintenance of roads, law enforcement, and 911 services. See attachment number 16. Sheree, in the future, I'd like to limit the attachments to maybe 2.
Is this for one town?
It's just Iowa, that's correct. Iowa, we don't have all these on the same schedule, and that's one of the things we talked about, and I don't know, I assume that you have this agreement in front of you. The only change to the previous year is the same change that we made with the town of Anderson. It's in paragraph 2A1 and 2 and 3. Essentially, it talks about who's going to provide the materials and who's going to provide the labor and equipment when it comes to performing maintenance on roads. I'll remind you that it's all subject to the main paragraph of 2A. It says this is all, it will be at the discretion of the road and bridge engineer. That language, it's not my favorite, but this was put in the Anderson agreement by the Anderson city attorney. And rather than quibble with it and go back and forth, we just accepted his proposed language, and so now that same language is finding its way into this agreement, which is fine.
Thank you, sir.
I move to approve the interlocal agreement for maintenance of roads, law enforcement, and 911 services for the city of Iola.
Second motion.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 16 by Commissioner Chad Mallett, seconded by Commissioner David Dobianski. Is there any additional discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 17. Thank you for your patience. It's very important. Consider and take action to adopt the tax rate with the record vote for Grimes County for tax year 2019 pursuant to Local Government Code 141.010 as follows. We have attachment number 17. The vote on the ordinance, resolution, or order setting the tax rate must be a record vote, so we'll take an individual vote on that. And I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.530261, which is effectively a 4.26% increase in the tax rate.
Judge, did you read the entire agenda item? I may have missed that.
The agenda item, consider and take action to adopt the tax rate with a record vote for Grimes County for tax year 2019 pursuant to the Local Government Code 141.010 as follows. See attachment 17. 1. We, the Commissioners Court of Grimes County, do hereby adopt the tax rate per 100 taxable valuation for Grimes County for tax year 2018 as follows: 0.530261 for the purposes of maintenance and operations, 0.000000 for the payment of debt service, ultimately 0.530261 total tax rate. So,
That's your motion.
yes, sir, it is. Thank you.
Second motion.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 17 by County Judge Joe Fouth, seconded by Commissioner David Dobianski. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Mallett, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dobianski, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Walker, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Cox, how do you vote?
Aye.
County Judge, how do you vote? Aye. We have 5 ayes, no nays or abstentions. Let the champagne flow. It's not in the budget. We'll pretend at the water fountain. I just want to say, I want to thank the commissioners. I want to thank the auditors and everybody, the department heads, elected officials that were involved in the numerous meetings, workshops, discussions. There was a lot of give and take, and I think we're fair to the citizens of Grimes County, and I think we'll do a good job with the budget that's been approved. Thank you all.
I wish you could read that line,
Which line?
number 4. It's on here.
Oh, the tax rate will effectively be raised by 4.78% and will raise taxes for maintenance and operations on a $100,000 home by approximately 0.00. So for those that might be watching and wondering where's the increased tax rate, there was an increase in valuations. We therefore, as a county, generated more revenue because of valuations, but the tax rate has remained the same. So the
And we have new
sales.
items on the tax roll this year that weren't before.
That's correct. So we're trying to keep our tax rate the same, and we voted to do so. We did have more money to spend, but that was through valuations and new taxable properties. All right. Back on agenda item number 18, consider and take action regarding the burn ban and authorize the county judge as signatory. I would suggest we take no action. Anything to the contrary, commissioners? No action. 19, receive any updates on the strategic plan. Commissioner Dobianski, I know you had something on the animal shelter, but do you want to more formally do that? Okay. Any commissioners, anything else at this time? That'll bring us to agenda item number 20. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 20 to adjourn by Commissioner Walker, second by Commissioner Dobianski. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Sharif,